This week on Motorhead Garage, Brian and John check out an LS engine swap on a JK Jeep. Later on, John shows a new way to reduce tire blowouts on campers and trailers. All this and more next on Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. There is no hotter thing in the world of hot rodding or off-roading right now than LS engine swaps. And what is an LS engine swap? Well, yeah, some companies, they'll tell you it's a set of motor mounts that may fit or may not. If we talk to the guys at Bruiser Conversions, we got Jeff here, you have the most integrated, fully done up LS swap I have ever seen, and it's all supposed to go into a JK Jeep.
Yes, it is.
So you've developed these systems. The company's been around since the 80s. You guys are swapping small blocks in before it was cool. Now it's LS time. We have a full kit here, including a dressed motor. And I want you to walk me through some of these components that we're looking at on the table.
Okay, well, the kit comes with all the proprietary components necessary to do a complete do-it-yourself install. It comes with all of the high current wiring for the battery and the total integrated power management system. It's self-explanatory. All the instructions are in the actual PDF that we send to you. Comes with the driver's and passenger side motor mount assemblies at the engine block as well as at the frame rail. It comes with a battery tray with a total integrated power management module that is put at a 90-degree angle, as well as the battery, in order to clear the actual engines. Very clean, very simple. Comes with the relocation bracket for the transmission. The transmission does push back in the powertrain approximately 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and this takes up for the slack of that, but still utilizes the factory transmission crossmember mount and crossmember.
I'll tell you what, as cool as the hard parts are, they're super well fabricated. This stuff is gorgeous. The genius of this thing is in the technological end. And I'm looking at a GMLS motor, and I'm also looking at a computer with a Chrysler Pentastar on it, and you guys have made these talk to each other.
Yes, we have. We have done some proprietary management on the inside of the PCM in order to communicate with the LS.
Let's talk about the LS, because again, as cool as the hard parts are, you guys have made this thing so well integrated and so well fitting that anybody can do it at home. We have a wiring harness here that comes, now this is as the engine is basically delivered. We put the K&N air filter on it, but that's basically it. Everything else is as you're going to get it at your home, correct?
All the accessories, drive components are all completely assembled and on the front of the engine with the belt already attached. The hoses are already attached to the engine, and as you said, the K&N doesn't come on the engine because it doesn't fit into the crate while it's on the engine, but all of the preheater hoses, all of the EVAPs, all of your O2 sensors, your transmission controller plugs right into the existing NAG1 or WA580, as well as your AC system. The manifold goes right into the firewall to the evaporator as well as to the condenser, and you have another sector that comes across the top here that also goes into the condenser. I
mean, we talk about kits being complete. You guys have the clamps where they basically where they need to go.
They're wire tied where they need to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is the detail in this is incredible. You know, people get nervous about electrical stuff all the time, but the reality is you're using factory connectors to go into factory connectors. So
correct.
If you can identify shapes and redirections, you can swap an LS motor into your JK.
Correct. Absolutely.
Even the exhaust, which you guys have done nicely in stainless steel, you have the exhaust here with high flow catalytic converters, O2 sensors are here, and the crossover pipe as well. So this is going to fit. It's got a nice joint, fit your joint, goes under the motor, you weld it up, and you're in business on the exhaust. Now you may be asking, what about the transmission? Well, you guys have thought of that too. We're going to take our LS motor here and spin it around sideways for a second. This happens to be a 450 horse LS3 is the motor that we're talking about in this kit right here. And again, the jewelry part of this deal, unfortunately this gets hidden because this is gorgeous as well. The transmission adapter is what's going to be able to mount your LS motor to your factory trans.
Correct. Obviously, the bolt pattern on the GM is a different bolt pattern than the bolt pattern that's on the Chrysler transmission that we're utilizing. So we've utilized a piece of billet aluminum in order to change the bolt pattern from the GM to the Chrysler pattern, as well as there's a ring that goes on the flywheel that adapts the flex plate to the torque converter on the transmission.
Jeff, you guys have been in business for 30-some years. Like we said before, you've been doing small block Chevy swaps. You're into the LS market right now. Bruiser Conversions has done an amazing job on this kit, and we're actually going to come back and see one of these kits installed into an incredible piece that you have also built. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radios since 1977. Z-Max, the one product for your engine, transmission, and fuel system. Genie Hitch, towing made easy. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now, we saw the LS motor here on the stand, and we also saw the components that went along with it. But the real magic lies right up under the hood. The LS motor's in there, along with the components. Jeff, man, if I went to a Jeep dealership, and I popped the hood and looked under here, I would swear this thing come right out of the factory. This is amazing, man. Tell me a little bit about this LS conversion.
Well, the reason that we decided to use the LS conversion in the Jeep platform is because of fitment. We had no issues with the engine fitting in the engine compartment from the factory. There was no modifications that needed to take place with the firewall. All of our components had plenty of clearance. With very minor modifications to the upper control arm brackets, we were able to fit it with ease. So it worked really good for a DIY platform.
Now, tell me a little bit about those components, man. How'd you get this stuff in there? I mean, I see the AC lines, everything you guys talked about, it's just so clean.
Well, we spent several years putting together this package so that we knew that we weren't going to have any issues at all with ongoing installations for private individuals that do not own their own garage. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible, and we did so by integrating the computer system into the LS by utilizing all of the factory Chrysler componentry.
Yeah, now I'm all about computer command control. I don't want you to give any away, but on the other hand, man, there's a Chrysler throttle body. We got some PCM issues, onboard 2 diagnostics, man. Just give us a little insight on how'd you make this stuff work?
Well, basically what we did our own programming on the ECM in order to be compatible with some of the componentry that we're utilizing on the engine. But we do have the system functioning with one single OBD2 port. You can go to any garage anywhere in the country, plug into your OBD2 port with a generic scanner, and be able to find out any information that you need to find if you have a check engine light that comes on.
Now that's incredible because the codes are all generic. I mean, I'll understand, but you guys are also there. If I have some issues, I can give you a call.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody that purchases a kit from us, we are there for them 100%, and prefer that they call us prior to ask us any questions that they deem necessary to follow through with the project.
Now this is the LS. You guys offer other packages as well.
We offer Hemis, diesels. A lot of the stuff that we do is in-house because of the complexity, but we also stand behind those components as well, and we're there for the client that decides that they want that particular package.
Well, cool as that is, man, this Jeep's even cooler. You know what? We're going to have to take a look at this from the front to the back. Now, Jeff, I could talk about this thing for weeks, you know, but you built this thing, I mean, from the ground up. Let's talk about the front all the way to the back. Let's close the hood and get started.
Sure thing. So we started off with a Warren 10,000S with synthetic rope. We have a Factor 55 clevis. We utilize Generites bumpers. They're aluminum, lightweight, very durable. Generites fenders. We utilize Raceline and Toyota Open Country MT 1550s on a 20-inch platform.
Tell us a little about the suspension. It seems to be up in the air a bit.
Correct. It's a 4-inch LCG Elite kit from TerraFlex. We utilize Radflow shocks with that because we definitely like the rebound that we get with those shocks. We like to keep the center of gravity very low because we do a lot of rock crawling.
Now, what about the durable paint job? I mean, what's that all about?
Well, we have utilized the Ultra Line-X, which is a new product that Line-X has developed. It doesn't have quite as much texture, and it's very durable. It's basically like bulletproof.
It sure is. Now, Brian, he's a little vertically challenged. He's going to love this, man. Open the door.
We've got the amp power steps for easy access to the passenger compartment.
To get right in there. The interior is phenomenal. What about the, let's head back here to the rear end. I mean, we got the dog box, water tanks. I mean, even the suspension system back here.
Sure.
It's second to none.
We have a dog box. The owner of this particular vehicle is an avid hunter, and we built a dog box custom for him for 2 dogs. It actually has a ventilation system with fans to keep the dogs nice and cool.
Back here, you got a winch under there as well?
Yeah, there's a winch underneath the rear of the vehicle. If he gets into a tight spot out in the bush, he doesn't have to worry about getting himself out of that situation.
Well, Jeff, I know you and I know your company, man. You're not going to sleep unless this stuff goes out your door primo, and this is a living example of it, man. This is incredible. Thank you so much for bringing it in. Hey, we'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage right after this break.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. You know, what I'm holding my hands right here isn't just a busted drive shaft, it's a potential disaster. As you can see, this folded up drive shaft has some humongous cracks in it. This thing was on its way to breaking into two pieces, and who knows what kind of destruction it could have done at that point. I've actually suffered this problem, and it happened to me while I was sitting in a car in a chassis dyno. We achieved a certain speed, the drive shaft flew out from under the car in multiple pieces, and none of us really knew what happened. You, on the other hand, do. We got Greg Frick here from Inland Empire Driveline Service. Greg, what caused the drive shaft of my wimpy little streetcar to fail, and what caused that big one to fail as well?
Drive shafts fail in this particular fashion because of critical speed. Critical speed is a number that represents that sound. That's a natural frequency. Drive shafts have them too. That are all different frequencies.
So you're basically saying when we achieve that frequency, this drive shaft almost, for lack of a better term, turns into a jump rope.
It first becomes a jump rope, then it turns into an S, and then it becomes a W and departs the car.
So your job at Inland Empire Driveline Service is to come up with solutions for people who want to either upgrade or maintain a level of safety in their car. So in terms of process, what is that?
What we do is you can modify the critical speed by the diameter of the tubing you're using, and it is a function of diameter and length. So at some point, regardless of how big of diameter you make it, say 5 inches, you will end up with that kind of a problem. When you get to about 60 inches long overall, should be thinking in terms of a two-piece shaft like we have for the 58 to 64 Chevys.
So being able to move to a two-piece, you're basically taking all of that length and kind of breaking it into halves, correct?
Yes, you just support it in the middle. So now you got two smaller jump ropes, and it's harder for them to start throwing their centers out and going into all these funny shapes.
And in terms of applications, there's a lot more that need this kind of engineering than just a racing application.
The critical speed issue has gotten more common as we have more sophisticated engine management systems and electronically controlled transmissions. The shafts are getting pretty long from the OEM, and they do just fine in the original configuration. You put a chip in, you change the rear end gear ratio, all of a sudden you can be in the critical speed range.
And part of building a great drive shaft goes into, one, the material. We talked about, the thickness and diameter, but also processes like the balancing of the drive shaft.
Balance is still a important part. Nobody buys wheels and tires without getting their wheel and tire balance. This is a yoke used in a Viper, for instance. You see how much metal we had to grind off of this thing just to get it to balance?
Pretty wild. Also, I'm looking down here and seeing some differences in U-joints. Now, you guys deal exclusively, I believe, with Spicer. That's a company that's been around 100 plus years, one of the best names in universal joints out there. But why am I looking at different sizes down here?
Spicer publishes specifications where they think that their parts should be used. We use Spicer's 1310. This is 1350. Obviously, they're bigger in 1350, but the operative thing is this trunnion diameter. We use 1310 for 500 horsepower street tires on the street, and 1350 for everything else.
And when you say everything else, Inland Empire Driveline Service, you're dealing not only with drag racers, you're talking about circle track racers, guys that are running on dirt and asphalt, off-road, and they all kind of have their own specific needs. When someone goes to the website, where are we going to find you on the internet?
iedls.com.
Can they get information on the site, or is it better for them to call you directly as far as the technical specs for their car?
Both. Go to the website, go in the education zone, read the powertrain setup guide, get informed about what you're doing with your project, then call us. We want to talk to you because your car is unique. It's different than anybody else's, and we know how to get you to mention the nitrous button.
Well, thanks, Greg. You know, this is more than just a performance issue. It's obviously a safety issue. If you have a drive shaft failure, it can be very devastating, not only to your car, but to you personally. Talk to the guys at Inland Empire Driveline Service for whatever your application. They'll find something that fits your needs, and we'll fit your needs when we come back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Dustless Blasting.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. MRT Performance, for performance car parts and servicing. Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now I'm sitting in front of a trailer tire, and by all looks, it's pliable, it looks real good, the tread's in good shape, but if I spin it around, whammo, huge blowout. Now blowouts happen, but unfortunately, they happen quite a bit on trailers, whether it's a camping trailer, a car hauler, whatever it may be. Why? Well, they're sitting for 90% of the time. Actually, you can see this one right here, the dirt line that goes across there, it's been sitting. As soon as it started to roll, bam, blowout. Well, Gordon from Trailer Legs, first of all, what happened to that tire? And you got a product here that's really cool that's going to solve that issue.
Thanks, John. Well, what happened here is that you stored that tire in one spot way too long, allowed it to dry rot on the bottom, and then on top of that, you put all the weight of your trailer on that tire and flattened it out. Well, those steel belts that were manufactured round have now been pinched in at a hard angle. And when that happens, with centrifugal force, those belts separate and pull apart. And then down the road, that's a blowout.
There it is.
So what we do is we take trailer legs, and we take one per tire, so 2 per axle, and you position them underneath the axle of the trailer.
All right.
And then when you get them all in place, you're going to get in the tow vehicle and just simply pull up on them, and all the tires on the trailer come off the ground at the exact same time.
Wow, so you mean to tell me this little rubber stopper here, so I put it back this way, right? It's against the axle. This is going to catch the road?
Yes, sir.
And when it catches the road, any surface, doesn't matter?
No, no.
Wow, and it goes back to this position.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to go one more?
One more, and now all the tires are off the ground at the exact same time.
Well, that's cool, but what if I want to go inside the trailer and just keep it up? I'm camping, whatever it may be. Can I go in there? Is it going to be steady?
There's not a product on the market that's better than trailer legs for stabilizing the trailer while you're camping.
What about checking the wheel bearings and stuff before I go? It's already up in the air?
You sure can. In fact, even some of the state parks have uneven camping spots. So throw 2 under one side, level the trailer up. Less than 5 minutes, you can have 2 or 1 or all the tires off the ground at the exact same time.
Wow, and it seems really sturdy. I mean, this is made here in the USA?
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to take a look at them. So you take a look at this while we go out and get these things set up so we can take a look at them in action.
Time now for Project 18-8 with Steve Flanders.
Well, we're making some great progress with our Project 18-8 pickup truck. We slammed the rear down. Steve, you couldn't have said it better last week. Put it in the weeds. We need to put the front in the weeds. And at Brothers Truck, you got just the package to do that. Take us through it.
Well, you got to have something to do it with. So best way to start is the springs. We got springs just like we put in the back, tuned springs, specifically for a lowered truck. So they're going to give you a little firmer ride. Awesome set of springs. Take up that extra handling you're going to want to get. You got your shorter shocks, also valve for a lower truck. So you get that sporty feel, and they're the right length. And then you come over here to our drop spindle disc brake kit. That's going to be a custom rotor, keeps your 6-lug bolt pattern, but uses very common parts. 73 to 87 bearings, calipers, brake pads. So anytime you need replacement parts, wherever you want to go, local auto parts store is going to have it. Now, we're looking at the spindle. The spindle here is an OE spindle. Bolts right back onto your original ball joints and tie rods, making this a super simple kit to install. And this spindle is forged right here in the United States. Matter of fact, in Northern California.
You gotta love that. And the install was just very, very easy. I mean, what we did is just went ahead and put the spring in. After we put the spring in, we could go ahead and pick up both of the lower and upper control arms. When we did that, it's nice because the spindle's made to accept these ball joints. Right. So they went right in there, bolted up with no problem whatsoever. Put the tie rod end on. Once we got that on, secured with the cotter keys, torqued down real good, we went ahead and put the caliper on. Put the caliper assembly on, the whole rotor assembly on there. Everything's ready to go. Last step, put the shocks on. That thing's sitting in the weeds, just like we wanted to. I mean, this thing is great, all right? So join us next week when we do more to the Project 18-8. Well, I got Walt out here from Trailer Legs. Walt, Gordon's going to go ahead and set it up. Why don't you tell us what he's actually doing under there?
He's positioning both of the trailer legs under the axles. He's going to position them in such a way so that we're going to back the trailer up to lift it. He doesn't have to get under the trailer. He doesn't have to use a jack. It's not dirty, it's not messy, it's not hard, and it can be done in just about that amount of time. As soon as Gordon gets these in there, we're ready to roll it back. Lift it off of the weight so the tires do not have to hold the weight of the trailer when we're not using this trailer.
And no jacking, I'm not going to bust my knuckles, everything's ready to go.
Everything will be ready to go. When he backs it up, we've got this trailer in a position to store it safely for a considerable period of time.
Let's see it in action. You know, I got Brian in the truck. This may be a challenge. I know we got to go about 18 inches. He's used to quarter mile, wide open throttle, but let's see how it goes. Brian, give it a shot. Now tell us what's going to go on here as he's backing.
Brian should back up slowly and position this trailer carefully so that the wheels are off the ground.
Man, that's it. I mean, it's up, right?
So I can, Brian, push it back a little bit more.
Oh, wow, look at that.
A little bit more, another inch, Brian. Perfect.
There it goes.
Now this is positioned so that I can turn this tire.
Yeah.
Make sure there are no nails in it. Make sure that it's not making any funny sounds. I can basically double check most of the moving parts on this trailer, the tire, the brakes, the bearing. If it all sounds okay, I think I'm ready to roll. A safe trip.
What, yeah, this thing is steady, it's good to go. Walt, that's an innovative product, you know. Hey, if you have an innovative product or any product you want to show to the world, just go ahead and email Jeff at masterstv.com. Well, folks, we're out of time for today. I'm going to beg Brian to go ahead and let me in his wardrobe trailer. We'll see you next week for more Motorhead Garage.